local history, local culture, local events, your community. This is the Joe Kelly Show.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. We're at the Irish Cultural Center on Columbia Street, right next to Varick. We're going to be talking to the folks from this institution. We'll be talking to Pat Roach, we'll be talking to Mike Hoke, and we'll be talking to Sistia about all the things that are happening here now and coming up in the future. And we are joined by the aforementioned Pat Roach. We're going to be talking to Pat about a variety of things, including how this all got started. But before we do that, we're going to say welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us, Pat.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
5 Points, an event center in the back, a museum up on top. How did it get started? What was the beginning of all this?
The beginning of all of this was with the Ancient Order of Hibernians. A group of us back in the day got together. I think they were having a conversation at Charlie Thomas's diner, the Riverside Diner.
Yeah.
And they talked about having a hall, a Hibernian hall, as most divisions do, whether they own it or rent it or whatever. And so they, long story short, they formed a committee, appointed somebody to take over, and the Irish Festival was born. And that was the fundraiser for the building project.
Mm-hmm.
Dug a foundation, got things going, things got stalled. Fast forward to a few years ago, Vaughn Lang from Syracuse, a developer and an attorney, came in and invested in the project and completed it, and this is what we have.
Yeah, and beautiful it is.
It is gorgeous. This entire space was built in Dublin.
Yeah, and then they shipped it over on a boat, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Was Matt Sullivan one of the people that were involved way back in that?
Yes, Matt was the one who was appointed the chair of that building committee and took the lead in the festival.
The stones that surround the building, are they from the church that used to sit on this spot?
Yes, those were foundational stones that were dug out during the excavation.
Okay.
Yes.
And the church that stood on this site, was it not, was St. Patrick's?
It was St. Patrick's, yes.
Yeah. And it was kind of interesting, Pat. Here you had St. Patrick's, an Irish church.
Mm-hmm.
Kitty corner, you had another church.
St. Joseph's.
St. Joseph, which is still standing there, Mother Mary Ann's West Side Kitchen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
The philosophy or the mission that the Hibernians and all the others who were involved with this were trying to accomplish back in the day when they're just talking about it. Promote Irish culture. What else?
Well, our motto was friendship, unity, and Christian charity. But yes, we're there to promote, first and foremost, we're Catholics, but we also promote our heritage and our culture through whether it's music or dance or education or literature. And that was kind of the purpose of the whole center here. It wasn't just so the Hibernians could have a hall. It evolved into something much bigger than that, and this is what it's become.
And this is the 5 Points. Where we're sitting now, 5 Points, where did that name come from?
The name came from the intersection. It's right out here. It's very similar to other, 5-pointed intersections in other cities. The most famous being New York City.
Yeah.
Yep. And so then the logo for the 5 Points and for the Irish Cultural Center, part of the design, the intersection is in that clover, that shamrock.
Mm-hmm.
And now that design is throughout all of the logos that we use here for the HARP Museum, the 5 Points Pub, the Irish Cultural Center.
And the 5 Points is a different entity, is it not, than the HARP Museum?
It is. So the overall organization is the Irish Cultural Center of the Mohawk Valley.
That's a 501c3?
Correct. And then 5 Points Public House and Event Center is wholly owned subsidiary of the Irish Cultural Center.
Mm-hmm.
And then the HARP Museum, History, Ancestry, Research, and Programs, I believe, and Al will be able to tell you more about that. That is also part of the 501c3 part of the organization.
Mm-hmm. And on the event center, which sits right behind us, pretty big room.
Yeah, it has 300 seat capacity.
Mm-hmm. And what is that being used for?
Oh, it's used for weddings, retirement parties, corporate functions. It can be divided up into 3 rooms or 2 rooms, whatever. It's very versatile, very flexible.
Is 5 Points the event center, and I'll talk to Al Sistia about the HARP Museum, but is the event center and this part of the building living up to expectations?
Oh yeah, yeah. We could be busier. We're only open Wednesday through Saturday right now, and then we have bingo on Sundays. We could be busier. At the moment, we can't open any more hours because we can't get the staff. And it seems to be the problem everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the building itself, this was done in a, I don't know, how would you characterize the architecture of this building? Would you characterize it as a...
I don't know that I can name the style of the architecture except to say that it's very typical of a lot of buildings, especially pubs in Ireland.
Yeah.
That shape, that theme.
And I'm looking across the way and I'm looking at what I call, and you correct me if I'm wrong or if there's another name for it, a snug.
Yes.
Is that a snug?
Yes, and that's very typical of Irish pubs.
Yeah, explain what that is.
It comes from, in fact, there's pubs in Ireland still to this day that have snugs with doors on them. So you can actually go inside, sit at the table in the booths, and close the door for privacy. And that was so that people couldn't hear your conversations and eavesdrop and nose in on your business. So,
or if a priest wanted to go have a pint.
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this snug is doesn't have doors on it, but it's the same kind of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'll notice throughout the pub that there are other booths that probably could also be called snugs, like the one right behind you at the fireplace. And
this is. I talked to somebody the other day. I was kind of surprised by the answer they gave me. I asked if they'd ever been here, and they said, "Well, no, that's for the Irish."
Oh no, we welcome everyone here. We want everybody to come down here and enjoy this beautiful place.
What's your thought for the future going forward for this place, this building?
Well, eventually our goal is to be open 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And just to be a good neighbor, a good community member, and make sure that everybody knows that we're not just here to make money. We're here to help out. We participate in food giveaways and charity work, and we just really want to see the place used to its full potential, and it isn't yet. The business end of it is starting to do much better, but we could be doing so much more if the public just would come on down and use it.
Okay. Pat, good talking with you.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
When we come back, we're going to be talking to Al Sistia. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. We're joined by the aforementioned Al Sistia, and Al is one of the driving forces down here at the HARP Museum and the 5 Points and the Event Center. Good to see you again.
It's good to be here, Joe. Thanks for having me.
The HARP Museum, I'll let you go through that acronym.
HARP stands for History, Ancestry, Research, and Programs. And actually, we could have done another HARP, we chose those 4.
And one of the things that I know from talking to people at the History Center, United County History Center, at the Utica Public Library, there's a big interest in genealogy in this area, yes?
Yes, there is. And that was one of the things we were trying to put in here. That is the A in HARP. We are, unfortunately, our genealogy volunteer passed away last year, so we're starting again. But That is a plan, having a genealogy desk. We've also had, as part of the cultural programs we've been putting on here twice a month, even all through the pandemic, we've had visiting genealogists come here and give great talks, and actually done one-on-one appointments. So yeah, people are very interested now.
And the HARP Museum is on the second floor.
That's correct. It's between the performance space, which is used for both events, and cultural performances and educational lectures. And then there'll be display cases and information, interpretive panels and artifacts throughout.
Where do you think the HARP Museum is in terms of, I don't know how you want to put it, Al, but are they at 10% of where they want to be, 50% of where they want to be?
Well, you're involved with the United County History Center. Their job now is down to adding stuff in, making temporary exhibits. Ours is starting from scratch, and we didn't have 150 years to do it. So we spent the first year just getting the charter in place, just getting our collections manual together.
When you say charter, let me interrupt you there. What do you mean by charter?
We are chartered by the New York State Department of Education as a historical society with collections. That's what gave us our 501c3. That's what gave the building its 501c3 status. But in order to do that, you have to comport to the rules. You have to have a collections policy. How do you track everything coming in? There's a lot of forms. There's a lot of transfer of ownership when someone donates an artifact. Anyways, we had to get all our paperwork done and get approval, and so we did that. We couldn't really then even do a call for artifacts because we had to have a review team, a trained review team in place. How do you review artifacts? You have to have gloves, you have to mark it in a certain way, you have to catalog it, according to a certain nomenclature. And then there's the whole idea of what are you going to exhibit. Now, our museum, the plan is to have 4 permanent exhibits. One is called On This Hallowed Ground, which tells the story of how we got to be on the site where the original St. Patrick's Church was, and the second St. Patrick's Church. Another one is called Irish Pioneers of the Mohawk Valley. That talks about the Devereux brothers, Dominic Lynch, Sir William Johnson. A third is called Irish Organizations in the Mohawk Valley. That's what leads up to our gala. And the fourth, down the road, is called The Immigrant Experience. It's for those less than pioneer people, the regular Irish that came over here during the Erie Canal days, during the Great Hunger days, and how did they work, where did they socialize, how did they get assimilated into the society that was here.
Yeah. Before we run out of time, talk about that gala that you just mentioned.
Well, in researching for that exhibit I was telling you about, Irish Organizations, I found that there was, in 1822, John Devereux, of all people, formed the Utica Hibernian Benevolent Society in 1822 to act as a structure of support for the incoming Irish laborers who were coming in to work on the Erie Canal. He had faced obstacles a generation earlier when he came to Utica, and he wanted to make it easier for these new people to get assimilated. And when I saw the date, bells went off in my head, and I said, man, 200 years, we got to do something. So almost instantly we started planning for this gala, which is going to be November 5th in the pub, in the museum, and in the event center. And I can talk about the timing of that if you want.
Please, yeah.
At 5 o'clock, we're having a private cocktail hour for the sponsors we've had. This is an expensive event, and we have a beautiful souvenir program plan, probably 50 pages with write-ups on all the 18, 20 organizations. So there's going to be a private cocktail hour and a first viewing of the phase 1 of our museum for the sponsors. 6 o'clock, we'll come down here to the pub for a cocktail hour for everybody. 7 to 8 will be a buffet dinner in the event center, beautifully appointed. It's going to be decorated really nice. From 8 to 9, there'll be an awards presentation section. And from 9 o'clock on, we'll be out here back in the pub enjoying music from a guitarist and entertainer.
The cost of this is a fundraiser.
It's a fundraiser for the HARP Museum. The cost is $50 a ticket, and it's that much because it's an incredible event, but it's semi-formal. It's a chance to get gussied up, and we do once a year we do a special dinner event, and this is the theme this year. It's been supported. We're getting letters of congratulations from state, local, international dignitaries, videos from a lot of those people, and a lot of them will be here. A lot of the people that were here for the groundbreaking, wondering if it was ever going to happen. Well, it's happening.
One of the, you bring my mind back to when there was just a hole in the ground here, and many people said this would never happen.
You know, Pat mentioned Von Lang, and I have to say he was a godsend, because I believe we were within weeks of becoming a parking lot again. But he saved the day, and tons of great construction people and volunteers made this happen.
You know, it's always a dangerous road to go down when you mention names, you know, and but Von Lang and Russ Brooks and Peter Carl, and I mean, there are just so many people that have given so much time to make this a reality, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt Sullivan, can't forget about Matt Sullivan. He was without, and John Sullivan, the local construction guy that made all this happen. Without any one of them, we wouldn't be here. We'd be in a dirt parking lot. Yeah.
See, I should have not gone down this road because we're leaving out so many names. But
well, let's mention Joe Kelly and Frank Tomeno too, because
that's
we have consultants on our on our museum committee, and who better than two Oneida County, historians who helped us? Rebecca McLean, Brian Howard from the Oneida County History Center.
How do people get tickets for the gala?
You can come to the pub. I recommend coming to the pub. I do it often. We have tickets behind the bar, and probably some of our committee members have them too. It's going to be a really special time, and people should come. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Good. And we should, for people who are saying, now why do I know that name? Al was the most recent Grand Marshal of Utica St. Patrick's Day Parade. And the first one was the aforementioned John Devereaux.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm bookending with a legend. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, good. Thanks, Al.
Thanks so much, Joe.
When we come back, we're going to be talking about a poet, a famous poet in Ireland, maybe not so famous here. We're trying to get some information about him. Mike Hoke will be coming up right after this short break. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. We're joined by Mike Hoke, and Mike is in charge of programs down here, right, Mike?
Yep, programs and events.
Yeah.
Cultural events.
And you've got a big event coming up. It's an event that I'm going to try to be at. This is an event by Zoom, and it's going to be with one Tony O'Flynn.
Tony O'Flynn, correct.
Yeah, talk about what that's all about.
Well, Tony O'Flynn is a scholar. He just completed his doctoral thesis at the Mary Immaculate College in Thurles, Ireland, and it was on Patrick Condo. Patrick Condo was a poet from the 19th century, and he actually emigrated to the Utica area back in 1825.
Let me interrupt you there. Why did Patrick Condo, and I've seen a couple different ways of saying his name, I guess one's in the Irish and one's Americanized, but why did Patrick Condo go from Ireland, and I guess he went to Deerfield, didn't he?
Yes.
Why did he do that? Why did he make that move?
Well, he was a farmer in Ireland, and he wasn't being successful. It was the system of landlords and things taking advantage of the poorer farmers. And he did have relatives that had moved to the Deerfield area prior to his move. And so he thought that would be a good move for him, and they were successful farmers, so he wanted to do the same thing.
And he has a bunch of kids, did he not? 3 or 4 daughters, a son?
He had one son, Pierce, and 3 daughters, Eileen, Margaret, and Kathleen.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you're trying to do is to find if there are any descendants of Patrick Condo in this area, yes?
That's what we are trying to find out. It is reported that he had even more children afterwards, after he emigrated. He actually emigrated, relatively late in life for back in that day. He was 48 years old when he emigrated, but reportedly he had 6 more children. So there's a whole slew of leads to follow.
Yeah. The Zoom meeting with Tony O'Flynn, that's open to the public.
That is open to the public. You can come to the people can come to the HARP Museum and view it as a group, with us, or they can view it from the privacy of their own homes.
Yeah, is there a charge for that?
There is no charge.
I think I'm going to have to come down here because I never seem to be too successful getting onto these Zoom meetings. So I think I just as soon let somebody do it for me. What time and the date for that?
That is going to be Thursday, November 10th at 4 p.m.
Okay.
And we have to account for the time change in Ireland. So
yeah, you're involved with a bunch of organizations, Irish organizations here, yes?
Well, I'm involved in one other one in many capacities.
Which is that?
Cultus Kiltori Erin.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a local chapter here, Crave Dugan, O'Looney, named for, you remember Frank Dugan, of course, Frank and Pat Dugan, and Jim O'Looney, who passed away recently. And,
former Grand Marshal of the Parade?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And a musician.
Yep.
Yeah. With you being in charge of, you know what, we should mention that Patrick Condo, the poet, is buried over at St. Agnes Cemetery.
It is.
Yeah, which kind of surprises some people because they think, well, that's an Italian cemetery, it's in East Utica, but it's an Irish cemetery.
Oh, absolutely. There are a lot of Irish names on those headstones. Believe me, I found them all when I was searching for his grave.
Yeah, and didn't they refurbish that headstone or do something to that headstone fairly recently, Mike?
Yes, I had. Actually, I had Patrick McGrath become involved with that, of McGrath Funeral Homes. He talked to the folks over there at St. Agnes Cemetery, had the stone uprighted, and Patrick has taken it upon himself to clean up that headstone, and it's absolutely, it looks as gorgeous as it did, I guess, on the day it was put up.
Yeah. Being in charge of programs down here at the HARP Museum, the Irish Cultural Center, what are some of the programs that you're looking to do off in the future?
We do have an interesting one coming up here. It's going to be in March. We just booked it. There's a fellow named Craig Williams. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not, but he works for the state. He used to work for the New York State Museum, and he will be doing a presentation on a cartographer, David Vaughn. David Vaughn did a lot of mapping work in the area back during the Erie Canal days, but David Vaughn was also from Ireland. So, and his maps are incredible works of art, as well as useful tools for for back then to in doing the Erie Canal work and mapping out property in
Can
various
those
cities.
be viewed anywhere?
I'm sorry?
Can they be viewed somewhere?
I think they can be viewed online. If you go to the New York State Museum website, I think they can be viewed online there.
Mm-hmm. And what about the writings of Patrick Condo? Are those available for people to read?
They are not available yet. I don't know what Tony Flynn is going to have for us. There are some things that we do have available to us, but there are certain rights to
Copyrights.
copyrights
Yeah.
and things like that. There is a website called Ballymakota.ie. Ballymakota is the town in County Cork where Condon was from. That has some examples of his writings.
Okay. Good luck with your future programs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for us this week, but we'll be back next week. We'll do it all again. Don't forget cnyhomepage.com. There's a lot of good stuff there. Until next time, take care of yourself, everybody.